Yes, I want to just thank you on behalf of our group here today and the Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action. You know, I know how busy you are. I can only imagine, and your schedule's busy.
It's very hard to build back better, which is something you guys support, I know.
Yes, enthusiastically and aggressively, I should say too.
Oh, you need it.
But we're going to go one at a time and talk for 2 or 3 minutes. You know, there's a collection of perspectives on the screen, all of them concerned, and I would say very concerned and frankly in opposition to the development of the radar out there, PMRF on the west side, for different reasons and for the same reasons. So without further ado, Laura is going to...
Gary, if you don't mind, let me just, because I think there's a misconception that your group has about your HOA and my position on it. So I'll be very brief in explaining, because I am not, supporting this to the exclusion of anything else that the Department of Defense has that will protect Hawaii. And up to now, and I've been asking all of the secretaries of the Navy and the Secretary of Defense and everybody up and down and sideways, when they come before my SAS committee, is there something that will protect Hawaii from potential attack from, say, North Korea? And they say, well, Hawaii's protected now. So I'm all ears. I'm open to any other system that will be supportive of the safety of Hawaii. And until that happens, though, I am supportive, as is the entire delegation, of keeping things going, but with the huge caveat that there needs to be an EIS. And that is where a lot of the concerns that you all have will be expressed. And I'm certainly not going to whatever the EIS comes up with in terms of the health and safety and the environmental concerns that you all have with placing this on Kauai will be what is out there for decision. And I certainly do not extend to override whatever the EIS comes up with in terms of what's good for the community and what's good for the state. So I just want you to know that.
Okay. Thank you so much for laying that out there in advance. I appreciate that very much. So Laurel, until she's ready, maybe you could try your phone system or your laptop. Are you ready now?
You're on mute.
You're muted. You're muted, Laurel. Unmute. There.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I went on my phone. I don't know why my computer's not working this morning.
So everyone's going to introduce themselves. Everyone's going to introduce themselves and speak their. Go ahead, Laurel.
Okay. Well, first, I want to thank you very much for being the champion for healthcare for all, and really a steadfast advocate for marginalized people. I worked for the state for 40 years on Kauai with people with disabilities. In 2004, I helped form the first climate action group on Kauai. And since then, we've morphed into a coalition of social and environmental groups. We are also part of a statewide network of environmental groups. There's more than 20 of us. And we're the one who wrote the Hawaii climate emergency, the resolution that passed the legislature this past session. And with that, we're hoping that all our leaders will treat climate like the emergency that it is and take bold action. The fact is, though, that half of our revenue goes towards the military. And the military is the biggest single emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. And so needing to address that. The military in Hawaii does have a toxic legacy. And to propose that this humongous radar be built on Kauai is unacceptable, really. And every group that I've worked with is in opposition to it. The energy that it will require to run 24/7 would be devastating to our goals as an island. You know, we have an electrical co-op And it's been almost 2 decades of innovation, investment, and action to get us to where we are now, which is 70% renewable. The construction of this radar would require tens of thousands of truckloads of landfill and then concrete, which is one of the most carbon intensive materials there is. And it's also proposed for a tsunami zone where sea level rise projections make it vulnerable as well. So I humbly ask you to reconsider your support of the HDR for anywhere and help redirect government funds towards fighting the climate crisis and become a co-sponsor of the Fossil Free Finance Act. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Laurel.
Thank you, Laurel. We'll just, unless you have questions, Senator, move over to Casey.
Yeah, good morning again, Senator. My name's Casey Reamer. I'm representing myself as a 30-plus year resident of Kauai. Jack Harter Helicopters, which is, since 1962, a business here on Kauai. And I'm also the president of the Hawaii Helicopter Association, which has statewide membership. We have some airspace issues that are very concerning to us. We currently have restricted areas that are associated with the Pacific Missile Range facility that, when the base is active, affect some of our operations, but not too much. We can get around their restricted areas. And then when weather gets bad, we transit not through the Kokei Waimea Canyon area. We'll transit along the Manaw Plain below the poly right there. It comes up from Manaw to Waimea area. So right now the situation works, but looking at the 120-degree arc that goes out 9 miles from the southern end of the Pacific Missile Range facility that this proposed radar would put into a new restricted area would be devastating to our operations on a good percentage of the days that we operate. Not all days, of course, because we don't operate down there every day. It's just our days when the weather up in Waimea Canyon gets bad. So it's an economic thing for us, first off. Second off, if the reason that they're saying we cannot fly in the airspace in front of this radar is because it could have negative impacts on the health of the people in the aircraft, I'm very concerned that anything else that is in the path, like endangered species, like the nene birds and everything else in the wetland areas. And there is a wetland that they're just redeveloping out there by the Pacific Missile Range. How are you going to ensure that those critters don't get cooked too? I'm just putting it a little bit crudely there, but that's basically what a radar would do. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with the contract operator that operates aircraft out at PMRF. It's Croman. They operate the large S-61 helicopters. And they're currently having issues with the current radars that are out there. There's the Aegis Ashore radar. And there's also a launch radar that's out there that's hot when they do operations. There are days when they cannot conduct their normal operations because of those radars. And they're very concerned that if this Hawaii Missile Defense Radar System goes up, they're going to be further affected on their operations. So that's where we're looking at things. It's an economic issue. It's an environmental issue. I'm not sure that this has been very well thought out or very well researched by those that are making the decisions on spending the money or actually putting the system in. And now with China developing their hypersonic missiles that this would have no defense to, it's kind of making us a more attractive target for first strikes, because they're going to come in and take out the things that will detect their ballistic missiles with their hypersonic missiles, and then go after other places like Pearl Harbor. So we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us today, and look forward to hopefully not having this thing be on Kauai. We do want to defend our country. I do agree with that, though. It's very important we do that.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you, Casey. Next we have Josh Maury.
Hello, Michael. My name is Josh. I'm representing myself. I'm the executive director of EV Cool, which is a 501c3 nonprofit rooted in the wellness of the Westside community. I'm also representing Kukona Ola, which is a group that has about 1,700 constituents. It's a bunch of different groups on the West Side, and we make sure that we try and have somebody in every meeting as it affects things that are happening in our community. So we report to a lot of the kupuna, a lot of the elders who can't make daytime meetings or who can't get out of the house, especially COVID stuff. So we've taken it upon ourselves as 30-somethings to 60-somethings to make sure we're getting information to the long time, the older kupuna who cannot make it out or who don't feel safe going to meetings. So I'm representing those two groups, as well as I'm a father of 3 who resides in Waimea, and I'm a full-time farmer. So, in conversation about this around the community, the biggest feeling I hear back from a lot of the uncles who work on base or who frequent out there and were born and raised in this area is the community at large is just really tired of kind of having the wool pulled over our eyes. And we're connecting dots. We're in meetings probably 3 a week with KIUC about this continuation of water diversion and dumping in Mana Plains for a production that's not happening. We have a lot of young Hawaiian farmers who want more water in the rivers. This military project, is going to have to draw electricity. And they're telling us, oh no, we're not going to bother with you guys' hydro. But the fact of the matter is that the hydro is going to have to go through to create an energy grid large enough to power this radar. And I think the feeling that we've gotten in a lot of the last community meetings from the community members has just been frustration that there is a feeling that we can't put those dots together, that when our own KIUC, our energy conglomerate, is telling us that the most we're going to see from this hydroelectric power is 5 cents a month more or less off of our bills. It's really hard for us to stomach another project that is going in on our side, that is taking houses away from our community. It is very tough. We don't have a lot of development. The military and their people they bring in, as well as the chemical companies, take up most of the affordable housing that we are unable to get into as young families. And that's a frustration that is seen to be circling the community regularly. So this is just another one of the things that, we have to draw short straws, and we're going, okay, who's going to be representing this? How are we going to have tactics to get our voice heard as working class Hawaiians, plantation people who've been and built Waimea, built Kekaha for generations, and are still here, and are still the people who are generating this side of the island, and who are living here, not vacationing here, and not coming over here for Chego Polahale, but are here every day and are taking care of this place. So I appreciate your time. I think my final words are that it is a very impassioned group, and I know you understand that group of, especially like my grandpa, my grandma, that, quiet kind, they kept it inside, but it doesn't mean they're not feeling it. And when we're able to break that, and we're talking with a lot of the older community, they're expressing to our generation a lot of frustration, and they're hoping and they're putting a lot of emphasis on my age group to really, really be present and really, really follow through on these things. And so I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Next we have Kip Goodwin. Kip has probably done more research on this project in terms of the technical aspects of it, impacts, that kind of thing. So take it away, Kip.
Thank you, Gary. Aloha, Senator. I'm with the executive committee on our local Kauai group of Sierra Club, and I have these comments prepared. Kauai was a latecomer to the location selection process. Studies, if any, of local suitability were based on Oahu's infrastructure and resources that serve a 1 million+ population. The Missile Defense Agency never considered that the infrastructure and resources that serve only a 74,000 population island could even come close to hosting the construction and operation of this massive $2 billion installation. And making things worse, the chosen site on Kauai is at the extreme southern tip of PMRF to avoid interfering with other PMRF operators by the radar's electromagnetic discharge. This site is on the west side of the Mana Plain, naturally a wetland, just a few hundred yards from the beach, well within the tsunami and hurricane surge zone. To mitigate, a 27-acre, 1 million cubic yard platform would support the complex of structures. Building that would require over 80,000 truckloads transported over the 2-lane asphalt Kamualii Highway interrupting commerce and daily life for thousands of local residents for months. Damage to roads and bridges has not been addressed by the Missile Defense Agency, and neither has housing for the hundreds of off-island workers. Missile Defense Agency takes no responsibility. The local marginal income families would be displaced from their homes. We will find more children will be sleeping in cars and tents. The radar would require considerable electricity. I think we've already covered that. Its day and night operation would require burning oil at Port Allen. I think we just have to accept that that's the case. Senator, the Pentagon has not requested funding for HDRH. As you know, China, Russia, and now North Korea are developing advanced technology missiles that can evade HDRH detection. Defense Secretary Austin said to you in a September Armed Services Committee hearing that Hawaii is protected by ground-based mid-course defense assets in Alaska and California, also space and sea-based sensors. The HDRH, Senator, is not worth the investment. And I want to add that recently the Indo-Pacific Command has produced a Hawaii military land use master plan for the next 25 years. It foretells more airspace and land use restrictions for local residents outside the boundaries of PMRF and other military bases. At PMRF, we're speaking of Crown lands, further restricting Native Hawaiians from their land that they claim as their own will not go unchallenged. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kip. Christopher.
Hello, Senator. My name is Kaua. I'm from Panapipe, born and raised Hawaii boy. I'm just here representing myself, and I got a chance to speak to Representative Kahele a few weeks ago, and I've really only known about this project for a couple months, and just everything I've heard about it and learned so far, I'm more than concerned or disappointed. I'm just so unimpressed with this. It concerns me as a conservationist, as a farmer, as a renewable energy proponent, as a hopeful future home buyer, but mostly as a Hawaiian. And so the proposed location is directly adjacent of favorite fishing and surfing all around, like camping or recreation spot on the west side known as Kokole Point, or Targets. And I fear that this construction will only compound the issue of shoreline access, just due to construction and operations and safety concerns. From Kekaha to Polehale is some of the most productive shoreline fishery that we have in the whole Moku of Kona, the entire west side. And I can remember as a kid going fishing and stuff along where PMRF is now. It was the first place I ever picked up lobster, the first place I ever picked up pihi. And since 9/11 in 2001, we haven't had access to this area. And I fear that if this radar goes through, it'll only make things worse. And then God forbid, what if there's some sort of hazardous material leak or whatever right there on the beach, like our whole coastline could be contaminated. And then what about the housing for the influx of construction and military personnel? Are we just gonna exacerbate the housing crisis and overpriced housing market? I have little hope as it is to afford my own home. And now are these transplants that come here just gonna take the very next opportunity that we might have been waiting years for? And then what about Polehale protection and access to our cultural sites out there? I'm a part of a group called Hui Malama Polehale, and we've been working for some years now to raise awareness for the cultural resources that we have out there, the heiau and the iwi kupuna that are in the dunes. And we're trying to protect those places. And now if this construction starts, are we going to have limited or no access to keep up the momentum that we've been working towards? And are we not going to be able to access our cultural sites? This is really concerning for me. And some other things, what about the health effects or perceived health effects and the impacts to the boating industry that exposure to this kind of electromagnetic field might cause? My girlfriend has been a boat captain on the Napali Coast tours for over 10 years. Will I have to now be worried about her livelihood or worse, her health? And then in my hometown of Hanapepe, the bridge construction, a major project, was just finished days ago. A major project that took years to complete. Meanwhile, the only commercial business to be majorly affected happens to be my family's gas station and service station, which sits adjacent to the bridge. A business that's been in operation for over 40 years. And my grandma recently told me that the business is about to go under. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but the business is about to go under. And it's going to take years to recover as it is. And now with the tens of thousands of truckloads of construction material that go through for this project, what our bridge now that just finished completion? Is if the bridge goes down again or something happens, my family's business isn't going to make it. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. But anyway, I just want to wrap it up and finish with what I told Representative Kahele when I spoke with him. And at the very foundation, for me, my main concern, or gets to the heart of what I'm trying to say, is not only does this project make us a bigger military target, in contrast to what we think it's doing is going to be defending us. To me, it's really just making us a bigger military target for our would-be enemies. This radar and really any project that furthers the military-industrial complex of the United States is just a continued slap in the face for us Hawaiians as we still grieve for the theft and degradation of our lands, our nation, and our culture at the hands of American occupation. Especially now as education and awareness of the matter have been growing, in my eyes, I see this project as yet another unnecessary, exploitative, and damaging project that puts Hawaiians at the bottom to bear the burden while foreigners reap the benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, very much. I'll just like to add just a little bit, and then Senator, if you have questions for us, or maybe some of the members have questions or other statements you want to make, Senator. But as you know, I've served Kauai in the Senate and the council for a total of 16 years, and have seen a lot of big battles come and go, and I frankly don't want to see this happen again to my community. I don't want to see another super ferry. I don't want to see young people risking their lives. I don't want to see no more GMO battles or no more anti-development battles where the community is divided and fighting. And I just don't want to see it. And I don't think it's necessary, but I see that on the horizon as this moves forward, frankly. In between, I worked for Governor Abercrombie. I'm not sure if you were aware. He appointed me to be the director of the Office of Environmental Quality Control for the state, which deals with EISs. So I'm really familiar with the EIS process. And I know the reality of the EISs don't stop projects, or rarely they do. A project development will adapt their developments to reflect the impacts possibly. It could make them bigger or smaller, or move them left or move them right to deal with the impacts. But environmental impact statement is merely a disclosure statement. It doesn't normally say yes or no. This is, and so I'm concerned about the momentum. I'm concerned about all the money that's invested, and then 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, there's so much money, it's so much momentum, it's hard to stop. So I would encourage you to talk, of course, to the Pentagon, but more importantly, far more importantly, in my opinion, talk to more people on Kauai. I know you're busy, I know it's hard, and I want to thank Carlos Santana and Blaine Nolan and your staff. I almost forgot. But they've been very accommodating and very open and very gracious. But at the end of the day, I'm thankful to you, Senator, for making the time and hearing our voices. So thank you. If you have questions, Senator, or other comments.
Yes, regarding the concerns that you've all expressed to me, have all these been compiled and submitted as part of the EIS process?
Actually, this whole process caught our community by surprise. It was all focused, it seemed like, on Kuhuku, and then we turned around and all of a sudden it's here. And with COVID and with just people's natural lives, a lot of people, even today, aren't aware of it. And so some of us have submitted some of these. I know I testified. Kip, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, the EIS process is taking place right now, and we were told the draft of the document will be released by the end of this year, and so then there will be a comment period, and so that's when you'll hear, and the Missile Defense Agency will hear from the community.
So are they, are you saying that they're not accepting any more comments?
The comment period has not begun, Senator. They say the draft
I
will be.
don't comments, I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong term because the comment comes in after the EIS draft is provided to the community, but are they not accepting any more input and concerns regarding radar?
I'm not sure exactly how the process works, but the way I found out about this was through a local representative, Jan Tim Brugigate. He called me and said, "Hey, have you heard about this?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." And thanks for giving me the call. And then we participated in a scoping session, and that's all we've ever been able to do is put some input in for that, both in a Zoom meeting and by written testimony. But the public awareness of this issue is extremely small. And it's only through Kip's efforts and a few other people, and Gary and Laurel and everybody else, that we're taking this as a grassroots effort. And I've talked to people and they're like, "What do you mean? Well, I've never heard of that." And it's basically something I wanted to echo on what Kip said earlier. Was he said that, it was originally focused on Oahu and then it came to Kauai in the middle of COVID. So nobody knows what's going on about this, and it really needs to be brought out.
So
Oh, sorry.
that concerns me that there has not been adequate opportunities for community input. Just as you have provided me with a lot of your concerns, it concerns me that those have not been submitted in some way, that there's not been opportunity to submit all of that to the Navy. So that is something that I will want to check on, because my understanding of the way, and Gary, you've expressed your skepticism of the EIS process. My idea of what an EIS is supposed to do is to enable a community to submit, and for the people with something to say about it, to be able to submit their concerns, and that those concerns be given adequate assessment and due consideration. That is my concept of how an EIS is supposed to work, and that is why I'm going to check to see how the concerns you've expressed can be submitted to the Navy, so that they can address these concerns, so that you don't have to wait for the initial EIS to come out for you to express all of your concerns. Anyway, that is my initial reaction to the information that you've provided. So clearly, I'm going to need to get back to you guys to see where I can find out more. I need to do a bit of inquiry on my end to see what we can do going forward.
Thank you, Senator. And to be clear, I'm thankful for the EIS process. I'm just not confident that it's comprehensive and effective enough in situations like this. Josh Morey had a comment. Josh?
Yeah, I just had a quick interjection about, being, I think, Chris and I don't know where everybody live, but I think we're the only two who live on the west side, and I think I'm the only one here who lives in Waimea. And being active in these conversations, as we are exhaustingly, especially with a young family, in meetings with each other or with JUC or with whomever is calling to see what's going on. We heard nothing about this. I heard about this, and not to get anyone in trouble, and I'd love to see where your research gets on this. I heard about this a year and a half ago because my old neighbor owns one of the trucking companies. And he was pulling machines, big dump trucks, big bulldozers, and he was working with PMRF. I said, bro, what you working on over there? He said, I can't tell you, there's something going down. He said, but it's tied to the bridge. I said, oh yeah. He said, yeah. So right on. Like another buddy that I work out with at 4:30 in the morning over here at one of our wellness facilities that we have as a nonprofit. And he works on the base. He's one of the safety guys. And I said, hey, what's going on? You know, I heard about this when Kaikahele kind of pivoted and said, hey, you know, I don't support this on Oahu, I support on Kauai. All of our ears turned up. We said, oh, why are you putting us into this thing? So then we started to put the dots together. That's what I say as a community is we see it happening. We see the trucks moving every day. We see the bridge being built 3 years ago to hold more weight. We see the trucks coming across it already. I'm literally looking at Mana'a Plain right now, where my farm is, and I'm watching it.
I don't know that those that activity you're seeing has anything to do with the radar going in, because there's no construction at all.
Yeah. And that's the feeling. I mean, what I'm echoing is the feeling from the community is we're hearing all these things and we're watching these things get compiled. I mean, we can see they're tangible to us. We can see them, and we're hearing like, no, it's not happening. Hey, we're going through the process, but yet we haven't had a chance to voice. And so that's why I'm so thankful just to be a representative.
Yeah,
I think this is our first chance we've had to voice what we're seeing, what we're feeling, what we're hearing. So thank you.
Thanks. Did you want to add something? Somebody?
I was just going to say that our that our organization did submit testimony with our concerns, but the only way we knew to do that was because of Kip and Kip's letters to the editor and just making the community aware. And after submitting it, I didn't have any response. We didn't get any response, and so I don't know what hole that went into.
Okay, thank you, Laurel. Yep.
May I, in the same vein as Josh's remark, is it the case that Lockheed Martin has received several $1 million and has already begun construction on parts for the radar?
No,
Good.
that is definitely not. I mean, they haven't even completed the site selection. They haven't even completed the EIS. They haven't even. There's still a process to go through, a comment period. This is definitely not a done deal. So the only thing that we're doing is, unless I mean, believe me, I would love it if the Department of Defense can say, hey, we have this other great thing that's going to protect Hawaii from. Remember what happened when we thought that North Korea was shooting a missile at us and frightening everybody was frightened? You know, that is not a possibility out of the realm of reality. So where I'm coming from is the need to look at Hawaii as one of the ways that it's not just what's cited in Alaska, by the way. Alaska, that missile protects continental U.S., not the Asia-Pacific area of responsibility. So.
Well, thank you for
Okay.
thank you
So
for
I will go back
diffusing
to you
that.
guys as to how, just to get a better handle on my end as to what this process is, because I would like your input to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You know, it's just, again, our main objective was to make sure that the decision makers, you know, you are probably the most important decision maker connected to the state of Hawaii on this issue. So we wanted to make sure that you, as busy as you are with all these issues around the planet, that you were aware of the deep concerns that are held by, I would say, a majority of the members of our community. So thank you so much, Senator, for
Very
taking the
much,
time.
everybody. Take care. Stay safe. Be kind.
Aloha.